A lot of people assume that therapists or people in the mental health, anybody working in the mental health field, like has it all figured out and their life is perfect. That's just not the case. We all have our ups and downs.
This episode is sponsored by TherapyNotes, TherapyNotes.com. Be sure and check them out, and be sure and use the promo code Gordon, Gordon, and you can try them out for 2 months for free. Over 15 years ago, when I started my private practice, I had to learn a lot, and most of it the hard way, and I don't think you need to do the same. Hi, I'm Gordon Brewer, a licensed psychotherapist, and welcome to the Practice of Therapy podcast, part of the Psychcraft network of podcasts. Join me in this journey of discovery as we have conversations with other leaders and professionals in both the mental and allied health fields. Join us as we explore both the business and clinical sides of running a private practice. Hey folks, it's Gordon. So glad you've joined us for the podcast. And if this is your first time listening, glad you tuned in. And if you're coming back for more, glad you're here. Hope you'll take time to follow us or subscribe to the podcast wherever you might be listening to it. So over the next few weeks, we've got a few special encore episodes that we're doing. It just in celebration of 350 episodes that we've had so far. It's hard to believe the growth that I've had with this podcast since I started it in 2017. So I really appreciate the fact that you're listening, and figured we'd go back and pull up some of the things from our archives that we knew were just good episodes and some great people to hear from. So I hope you enjoy over the next few weeks these encore episodes of the podcast. And also would love for you to go over to the website, practiceoftherapy.com, and check out all the resources and things that we have there for you and helping you and growing your practice. So stay tuned, folks, for this encore episode of the Practice of Therapy podcast. When starting a private practice as a therapist, counselor, or life coach, things can feel a bit overwhelming. You're unsure where to start, what to focus on, or how to grow things. I've been in private practice now for over 18 years, and a lot has changed. I've helped countless clinicians avoid a lot of the common pitfalls and build successful practices that align with their values and lifestyle. My coaching and consulting services are all about giving you a focused plan, helping you set clear priorities, and understand exactly where to invest your time, energy, and money. We'll work on defining your niche and then how to market it, ensuring that you build a practice that's both impactful and enjoyable. I'll also teach you the business skills they don't cover in grad school, from financial planning to implementing systems that make your practice run smoothly, like a well-oiled machine. In addition, I can help you find ways to diversify your income streams and create financial stability for long-term growth. Whether you're just starting out or looking to take your practice to the next level, I'm here to guide you in every step of the way. Let's work together to turn your vision into a thriving, fulfilling reality. To apply and find out more, just go to practiceoftherapy.com/coaching and consulting. That's practiceoftherapy.com/coaching and consulting. And also you can book a free 15-minute discovery call with me to talk about your goals and vision. I look forward to hearing from you.
Hey there. If we haven't met, my name is Lisa Mustard, and I'm the person behind the scenes of The Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard, a podcast where I interview seasoned and knowledgeable talk therapists from the counseling world to glean valuable insights, techniques, and tools that you can apply to your practice and your life. Plus, you can also earn continuing education contact hours from some of my episodes. So to learn more about the show and get your first continuing education contact hour for free, head on over to my site, lisamustard.com.
Ready to upgrade your practice from a rusty bicycle to a shiny new sports car? Buckle up, because TherapyNotes is here to turbocharge your journey. It's the comprehensive practice management system you've been craving, equipped with everything you need to navigate patient records, schedule seamlessly, host remote sessions, craft detailed notes, and tackle insurance billing with ease. And guess what? It's your trusty sidekick, available whenever and wherever duty calls. Picture having more quality time with your clients, all thanks to this digital assistant that never clocks out. Here's the kicker. It's Gordon approved, so you can trust it's the real deal. Bid farewell to paperwork headaches and embrace a new era of efficiency and top-tier care. Ready to level up your private practice game? Swing by practiceoftherapy.com/therapynotes and punch in promo code GORDON for 2 months on the house. Enjoy the show.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Practice of Therapy podcast. And you just don't know how excited I am to have Kati Morton with me here today. I discovered Kati on YouTube, of all things, and she has got one of the most amazing YouTube channels on mental health that I've ever seen. And she interviews really cool people, and she is just doing just a phenomenal job of just educating people around all things mental health. So welcome, Kati. Glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so as I was telling Kati before we started recording, I just am really, quite frankly, been touched by what she's been doing, because I think she's really doing a great job of taking the stigma out of mental health and really helping people in unconventional ways, I think. And so, Kati, tell folks, as I start with everyone, tell folks a little bit about your practice journey and how you've landed where you've landed and what you're doing now.
Yeah, it's a winding road. Never thought this would be what I do. I always knew I wanted to be a therapist or a psychologist, or even for a while a psychiatrist. I wasn't really sure, but I've always enjoyed people and our ability to change and grow. And even when I was a kid, I loved being the secret keeper for my friends, knowing that they could confide in me and I would lock it up, like a vault. And so anyway, that's just kind of the background of why psychology was so interesting. I enjoy talking to people. Other jobs I've been in over the years, as I'm sure any of us, we've all had many jobs getting to where we were at, from I was a waitress to a salesperson to a HR representative, all sorts of stuff. And I was always bored with other jobs, but people don't bore me. People are fascinating and always changing. And so when I think I was still in graduate school, I started working at Eating Disorder Treatment Center. And the main reason that came to be was because I put myself through school. I paid, I didn't come from money. I paid for all of my own education. And so it was the only job that paid.
Right.
And I had a close friend of mine suffer from an eating disorder when I was growing up. And so I was actually kind of reluctant to take the job, thinking that maybe, there could be some countertransference. And even though I was in my own therapy, I was just worried about how I would manage it. And it turned out to be one of the most fulfilling jobs I've been in. And during that time, my husband now, but at the time he was still my boyfriend, I'd come home and I would complain about how nobody understood eating disorders. And we didn't have enough people to refer to, and no one was talking about it in a real way. And he had just been at this conference where they talked about the power of social media, and particularly YouTube. And he comes from a film production background. And so he said, well, why don't you educate? I'll film you and we can put it online. And like any good therapist, I was like, no, I don't want to be on camera.
Right.
That's not what I'm supposed to be, to do my own thing. It's not about me. It's about my patients. And then after some persuasion, seeing other creators doing things on YouTube and other educational creators coming out of the woodworks. Like, if you're not familiar, Hank and John Green have a wonderful channel and a ton of channels they've created. Complexly is their company. They have a lot of educational content, and all of that just kind of pushed me over into it. And so a little over 8 years ago, we filmed our first video, super awkward. And yeah, we've been doing it ever since. And because nothing happens in a vacuum, even though the channel began as an eating disorder focused channel, it's definitely grown into all things mental health related. And I even have other colleagues of mine on to discuss things that are out of my scope of practice.
Right, right. And one of the way I discovered Kati was I was telling her this is that I don't guess it's really a vice, but one of the things that I do just to kind of wind down at night is I'll watch YouTube videos. And one of the people that I follow, a musician that I absolutely love, her name is Dodie Clark. And Dodie had done an interview with Kati or vice versa, just about her mental health struggles and the things that she's gone through. And I would just thought, so who is this Kati Morton? And so I just started binge watching all of her videos and stuff. And it was just amazing what you're doing in this space. And I think what intrigued me the most is that you've broken out of that mold of helping people with just doing traditional therapy. And there's a talk that you did. I think it was a VidCon talk that you did. And I'm going to put a link in the show notes to that. But that was just really touching to me, is that you started getting feedback from people about what you were publishing. You want to talk a little bit about that, just about some of the feedback and comments you're getting from people, and really kind of, in many ways, it verifies the fact that this is helpful.
Yeah, I do. I mean, that's the thing that I'm the most, I guess, proud of when it comes to my channel, is the community aspect. Because oftentimes when we deal with mental health issues, it's just us and our therapist, and that's it. And other people in our lives might not even know we're going through it. And we can feel like something's weird about us or wrong with us. And so I really engage a lot with my community, and they engage with each other. And that's the really powerful part about it. Is, for those of you who aren't familiar with how YouTube works, you as a creator have the ability to let all comments fly. Like whatever people put, it can be posted. So anyways, for those of you who don't know how YouTube works, you have the ability as a creator to either let every comment that someone wants to put out be posted, or you have the ability to hold certain words or hold them all. And for years, I used to hold all of the comments and approve them myself, just to ensure it was a safe and healthy place. And then probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I appointed moderators within my community, and I hold certain words like kill yourself, some curse words, things that I just think could be really offensive. And they've really taken it amongst themselves to continue to keep it a safe and happy place. Mm-hmm. And to that end, because of the fact that I engage with them when a video goes live, I comment back, I answer their questions in videos, I really feel a deep connection to my audience. And my viewers are really, it's not just about me, it's about them as well. And so I get these really powerful letters. I have a PO box that I keep, and people send me, Christmas cards, everything, sharing how the channel has benefited them. And that's honestly it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done, just the ability to reach that many people. So I've shared that in different talks. I always joke with my audience. I'm like, if I'm going to give a talk, I'm probably going to cry publicly. Not my favorite thing to do, but it's a really powerful connection. And what a wonderful, I don't know, I guess, gift that we get to be able to be with people in the depths and to watch them climb out. It can be just so, so rewarding.
Oh yeah. It reminds me of a client I had this past week that really just kind of had a breakthrough and broke down, and I'm the same way. I just start crying as well, just cry along with them, and it's just, and I think that's the thing that strikes me too, Kati, is the fact that you are so genuine with what you're doing, and it comes through in your videos of just being able to, and I think that's what really, at the core of doing good therapy is developing those relationships. And with this whole medium of video and YouTube, people really feel a connection. And I think it's helpful in that way.
Yeah. I mean, there's it would be almost the antithesis of therapy to be like phony or putting on a show. Like I always try to tell them to, like, I'm in my own therapy, and just because I know better doesn't mean I do better. Mm-hmm. And because I don't want them to, I think a lot of people assume that therapists or people in the mental health, anybody working in the mental health field, like, has it all figured out and their life is perfect. And that's just not the case. We all have our ups and downs. We all have struggles. We all have communication blunders, relationship issues. It's just part of being human.
Right. Yeah, I was watching, I told Katie I did some binge watching of some of her videos before this morning. And there was one that you did just about what goes on inside a therapist's head to your audience. And I love that. Because that was so true and spot on just about how we are as therapists. Well, one of the things I'm curious about is I'm imagining that when you started down this road of really just thinking about, okay, I'm going to help people in this way by just doing a lot of psychoeducation. That's the, our clinical term for it, but just education on mental health and that sort of thing. Did you get a lot of pushback from colleagues and people about what you were doing? Because, we're kind of trained to be, private people and, we're going to keep confidentiality. And if you do social media, you're breaking confidentiality and all that BS. So I'm just curious as to how you kind of made that leap and just thinking outside the box.
Yeah. I mean, I have to give kudos to my husband for pushing me to take the leap, because I definitely had those kinds of internal restrictions based on my education and what job I do. But as far as colleagues go, surprisingly, they've been supportive, but they don't understand it. Through the years, it's gotten easier for them to understand what it is. But back in the day when I first started, it's been over 8 years. A lot of my colleagues, because I'm part of this, we call it a journal club. It's really not journals. It's more like a peer support. It's like the psychiatrists, counselors, psychologists get together to talk about difficult cases or things that we're working on, research we've read, anything like that. Anyways, and it's once a month. And they have all been very, at first, what does that mean? How do you hold confidentiality? Are you taking patients that way? How do you do online? They had all sorts of questions. But once they realized it was really just a way for me to educate people who maybe don't know where to start, right? We don't know what we don't know. Then they were super supportive. I have gotten pushback over the years from other clinicians who just disagree with the way that I think about things, which is fair, right? That we're all different, and I don't discourage that feedback. It's just things that for instance, one thing I got a lot of pushback on was I mentioned in ways to know if you're seeing a good therapist and bad therapist. I have this group of videos, and one of the components of what I thought would make a bad therapist was you don't have any goals you're working towards. There's no plan. And I got a lot of pushback saying not all therapies work like that. And while I hear them and it's all valuable feedback, I still believe we should all be working towards something, because my belief is that therapy isn't lifelong. It's something that you can access through your life. I've been in therapy off and on since I was 15. So we're going on 21 years now. But I'm not constantly in it, because I'm supposed to be learning new tools that I can then utilize in life. Don't want to, as a therapist, I don't want to be a crutch. And as a patient, I don't want to use my therapist as a crutch.
Right. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. Well, one of the things too is that I would guess for you too, one of the things that you had to kind of overcome was kind of this whole imposter syndrome kind of thing. Of just really recognizing, I've got some knowledge. I know about this stuff, and, feeling quote unquote qualified to put that out there with some authority. So what was that like for you?
I'm still in it, I guess, a little bit. It kind of comes and goes. I think at the beginning, when people would come to me as an expert, that word just, it didn't feel like it fit. I don't know. I feel and even being a creative person, as a creator, people will say oh, you're really creative. You did this thing. And I'm no, I'm more science-based. I don't see myself as a creative thinker. But I went to a conference a while ago, and it was about essentially the self-care base, but it was we all create things. We all put things out into the world, and that makes us creative. We don't need to put these certain terms on pedestals. And that really resonated with me. And it's been something that I've been trying to believe more, and let it absorb that how people see me. And if I am an expert in certain things, within especially eating disorders and self-injury. I've been working in that in a long time, for many years. And it's okay to accept that I have done that. I think I don't know if this is true, but in my experience, I feel like in society, we kind of look down on people who are confident, because confident we see as like egotistical. And it's just not the same thing. I think confidence is a healthy understanding of yourself. And I'm not an expert in everything, and I don't know everything, but so it's still a work in progress, but I'm trying to accept the fact that, I do my best. I do a lot of research. I read a ton of books. I talk to a lot of colleagues in the space to get their insight. So I utilize all of my resources to give my viewers the most up-to-date and best information I can. Yeah. And I think I'm good at my job. Yeah. I'm not perfect, but I'm doing my best.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, I think the other thing that people might be interested in is, as you built kind of your YouTube channel, I think people are kind of blown away by the fact, you can actually make money at this.
Yeah.
In terms of the whole business side of things. You might share a little bit about kind of your business model with all of this and just how that's worked for you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the easiest way people make money online is through YouTube AdSense. So, and I struggle with this. Because it's mental health content, YouTube deems it sensitive. And so not all of my videos are monetizable, but that's a great way for people to make money. I mean, people in the outside of my realm, like friends of mine who, get a ton of views, you get paid, they call it a CPM. It's like click per million, but it's really how much you get paid per 1,000 views, roughly. And people can make, thousands and thousands of dollars a month. People making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. It's very crazy. I'm not in that in that bubble, because I don't really do pop stuff that often, like pop culture hits. And like we were talking before we started recording, I'm not going to have like a viral hit on my channel. That's really not the ideal things. That's not even what my goal is. So there's AdSense. Then there's brand deals. I don't do a ton of brand deals because I am protective of my audience. I feel like I'm not looking to exploit them. This is an educational forum. So companies that I partnered with, I feel like are companies that can offer resources to my audience that they might not know exist. Everything from BetterHelp, like online therapy programs. I think those are great, especially for rural people in rural communities. And then also another one I did was with Bumble BFF. It's a way to make friends through social media, like getting connections in your area to meet in real life. And I know a lot of my viewers struggle to meet good people and make friends. And so any of the brand deals I do are kind of wrapped around that. And then I do speaking engagements at schools and stuff to help educate. And then I wrote a book. My book came out last December, or not this last December, the December prior. So December of 2018. And those are just a few ways that I support myself. I also have a Patreon account, which is because AdSense isn't very reliable for me on YouTube. I mean, it's probably 50% of my videos are advertiser friendly, 50% are not. And I don't want that to dictate what I create.
Right.
Like there was Suicide Prevention Week. I think it's in September. And I knew those videos wouldn't be monetized, but I was still going to create them because they should exist. And so Patreon is really the way that I have like consistent income so that I can pay my rent and my bills. Yeah. So it's just a bunch of different things. We kind of just, hodgepodge it together, just make it work.
Yeah. And for folks that aren't familiar with Patreon, it's like a subscription kind of thing where people that are, in the online space will get people to subscribe to their channel and that sort of thing and pay for it just as a way of paying it back.
Exactly.
So,
and they can get rewards too if they want. Like I have different tiers and they can get extra live streams or thank you cards and things like that.
Yeah. It's a fascinating business model, one that's in the back of my mind for things.
Yeah, you should consider it. Yeah.
So, and one of the other things too that I know you're still doing a therapy practice, correct?
Correct. Yes.
But it's just kind of on a limited basis to some degree. And one of the things that we had talked about just briefly before we started recording is some of the ethical things that you've run into being, kind of a public figure now and being out there and then people coming to you and just being able to delineate between people that just want to see you because they're a fan versus people that truly are coming to you for therapy. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's been a tricky thing. I don't think I ever thought about it starting out the channel, to be honest. But for those people who don't understand, the therapeutic relationship is something that should be developed over time in therapy. And it's really what makes therapy work. I always tell people, like, you should feel this kind of click with your therapist where you're like, I like them. They seem to hear me and understand me. I wouldn't mind talking to them, almost like a new friend.
Mm-hmm.
And if people come into therapy and feel like they already know me and they think I can like fix all their problems, it kind of changes the dynamic of that relationship, because unfortunately therapists can't fix things for people. I can't make you get better. We can work on it together, but I can't work harder than you, meaning I can give you the tools and come to the table with as much information and helpful resources as possible, but you're the one that has to do the hard work of integrating that into your life.
Right.
And so over the years, it's been a little bit trickier. It's harder to get what I would call like a good referral of a patient, meaning a patient that doesn't think that I know it all or know of my online presence. They're just really looking for a therapist. And so also because I travel, because I do speak and go to different events, it's harder for me to be in my practice all the time, which means some of my higher need patients I've had to refer out over the years to people who are, because for a while I had patients I was seeing 2 or 3 times a week, and I'm just only in my office 2 half days now. So it's a little bit more limited. And so, yeah, it's been it was just as a side effect I wasn't prepared for, I guess, and something that I continue to navigate as I, continue to work. But I really do worry about losing touch with patients and being in private practice. And that's something that I hopefully don't have to fully give up.
Right.
Because there's nothing like being in the room with someone, having those breakthrough moments. Like you were saying, you had a patient this week and I mean, every therapist would understand this. Some days you walk out thinking, man, I'm horrible at my job. Today was horrible. This was terrible. This person having relapse of symptoms. And there's other days you walk out and you're like, so good. Today was a great day.
Right.
And both of those days are important to have. And I don't want to miss out on that. And so I'll continue to assess. And I talk to my colleagues a lot about it, and, just trying to find a nice balance where I can be there for my patients enough, but I can also do the things I want to do to help reach more people. And, yeah, so it's interesting, and I'll continue to assess it. I assess it probably every few months, just especially if a patient is like going to kind of graduate in a way where it's like, okay, well, we'll go down to every other week, or we won't see each other for a while, and you can always call me, then I'd have to have that decision to make of whether or not I fill that slot.
Right. What's sort of I guess, for lack of a better term, the vetting process you use around which patients you'll take and which you don't?
First of all, coming from a good referral source, I have a few psychiatrists I work with closely and have good relationships over the years, as well as dietitians, because I do work, eating disorders is my niche. So there's those are the 2 most common referral sources. But then when I see a patient in my office, I have a form they fill out to tell me if they've been in therapy before, are they on medication, what kind of symptoms are you looking to get resolution for, all of those basic questions. And then just sitting with them within a session or 2, I can usually tell whether I think it's going to be something that like I'm the best fit for them. Like recently I saw a patient once, and I referred her out to another clinician because I really felt that she needed like trauma specific care. And even though I do deal with trauma in my practice, I'm not a specialist. And I have a wonderful colleague of mine. She's great. And so if I know that right off the get-go, I can refer them out and not, save them time and money.
Right.
But usually I'm looking now, it's highly motivated patients. I guess that's probably my biggest thing, just because I have limited time and I can't really take the high needs one as much as I used to love to do. Because eating disorders, and I do dialectical behavior therapy and CBT, and those you can get a lot of borderline patients, and self-injury can coincide with that. And I kind of missed having more patients like that, which I know is strange. A lot of clinicians are scared to work with those patients, but I find that to be the most rewarding. Yeah, so it's kind of shifted a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's what's interesting is that you're now, as your practice, I'm going to call it a practice, and it's really more than that with your YouTube channel and all that you're doing. I'm curious as to how you devote your time. How do you, because obviously from just watching your videos, you're doing a lot of recording,
Yeah, over the years, a lot. Yeah, for a while there, I even had 3 jobs. People are always like, how'd you do it? And I'm like, I don't know. I blocked it out. I forget a lot of scheduling. I'm unfortunate. I actually don't mind it. I thrive in structure, and I thrive having, there's a certain amount of busyness that I'm super effective at. And so it's over the years, it's getting better to understand what that is for me, because everyone's going to be different. Like I'm not a morning person. Like I can't start work at 7 a.m. That's never going to work for me, but I can get up and I can go to yoga, or I can do something for myself at that time. And then I can jump into my day. And so I am very like scheduled, structured around how long I'm going to spend on something, what I need to do today. I've learned through tons of research, because I'm always reading something and, trying to better understand things for my viewers. And I know that we can't have to-do lists that are longer than 7 things because that's not attainable. And one of those things on the list can't be like record 6 podcasts. That's just not, not feasible. Yeah. And so I've gotten better at structuring my days to include the things that I can complete so that I can put checks in boxes so I feel motivated. Yeah. And I've gotten something that I struggled with a couple of years ago was just self-care, like finding time for myself. I was definitely struggling with burnout. It was when I was writing the book and doing the videos, and it just got to be too much for me. And so I put in self-care things, and they're non-negotiable. They can't be rescheduled. I put them in my calendar just like I would anything else. And so some of that's just helped me do it over the years. I also have an assistant that works part-time, and that's been really helpful for scheduling, email management, stuff like that. I'm not afraid to outsource things that I can't do.
Yeah. That was one of the things I was just commenting on is that I know when I reached out to you about being on the podcast, what was impressive is you had a team of people that handled that stuff for you, which leaves you to do the creative and stuff that really is the best use of your time, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah. And it took me years this is only in the last year or two. I've slowly brought people on. I think I was scared to lose that connection, but it's really not like scheduling isn't something I have to be a part of, because as things get busier, it gets harder for me to make time for everything. And so if there's certain things that I don't have to be a part of, it's been really helpful. And I think everyday people can relate to that when it comes to, if you don't have time to clean your house, you can have someone come and clean it for you, or get your groceries delivered, or, wherever you live, depending on what's accessible to you. There are ways that we can order at Walmart and drive in and put it in our trunk and we drive away,
Yeah, right.
Make it more effective.
Right.
So over the years, I've added some things in like that so that I can maximize my time.
Right. Well, this is, Katie, I want to be respectful of your time. And I know there's just so much we could spend our time talking about. And I'm glad that you joined me today. Tell folks the best way to reach you and tell them about your book and how they can get that. And we'll put all these links in the show notes and the show summary for people to have easy access to.
Yeah, the best way to find me or to see if I probably already have a video answering some questions you might have is just my YouTube channel. My name is Kati Morton, KATIMORTON. Across all socials, you can find me that way. My book, Are You Okay? A Guide to Caring for Your Mental Health, is available wherever books are. And I even did my own audio book. I wrote the book 100% myself. And it's kind of just a where to start, what to ask. Yeah, when it comes to therapy, relationships, and all those great things.
Yeah, that's great. And like I said, we'll have those in the show notes. And you do some speaking. You got any big speaking engagements coming up that people might want to know about?
I'm going to, this weekend, I know it's a quick turnaround, but I'm going to Playlist Live in Orlando, which is like a YouTube creator event. But I am speaking at the University of Oshkosh. It's University of Wisconsin in Oshkosh, mid-March, and potentially some other stuff in April that's still waiting to come through. Follow me on social media. I always share on Twitter and Instagram what I'm doing and where I'm at. I'd love to meet you. I promise I'm friendly. If you see me in public, say hi. I always hate when people tweet me later and say, I saw you at Starbucks. I'm like, you can say hi. I promise I'm friendly.
That's great. Well, folks, be sure to check out Katie's YouTube channel. It's a delight to watch. And Katie, thanks again for taking the time to be on the podcast. And hopefully we can have some other conversations in the future.
Yeah, I'd love that. Thanks for having me.
Yep. hope you've enjoyed this special encore episode of the Practice of Therapy podcast. Got a lot of great podcast episodes in our whole catalog. I mean, you've got over 350 to choose from now, and I'd invite you to go back and check out some of the older episodes as well that maybe you haven't noticed, and maybe there's some topics of things that you're working on right now that within your practice that might be of help. I would love for you to go over and visit our website at practiceoftherapy.com and check out all the resources we have there and different things coming up. And thanks for joining us. And a big thanks to our sponsor of the podcast, TherapyNotes. They are the leading electronic health record system for mental health providers. They're who I use in my practice and just absolutely couldn't work without them. They provide not only a patient portal that's second to none, but also a way for you to do your scheduling, file insurance claims, and create rich documentation without a whole lot of thought you have to put into it. So check it out. Go to practiceoftherapy.com/therapynotes. Oh, and be sure and use that promo code Gordon, just Gordon, to try them out for 2 months for free. So be sure and check it out. Thanks again, folks, for joining us for this particular episode. And do take time to follow us or subscribe to the podcast wherever you might be listening to it. And we'll be back with you next week for another episode of the Practice of Therapy podcast. You've been listening to the Practice of Therapy podcast with Gordon Brewer, part of the PsychCraft network of podcasts. You can find out more about the other great podcasts in the network by visiting psychcraftnetwork.com. And if you haven't done so already, please visit us at practiceoftherapy.com and get your free private practice startup guide, along with a lot of other great resources and webinars and free things just by visiting. Also, be sure to follow us wherever you might be listening to your podcasts. This podcast is intended to be educational in purpose and is not intended to give legal, accounting, or counseling advice. If you need a professional, find the right person for that.